Now, the men that were sold into slavery were made to work quarries or row boats.
Or to row boats, the understatement of the century. Because this is galley slavery, where Christian male slaves were chained to the decks of ships by the Islamic Barbary states and forced to become rowers in their navy. This was a fate so terrible, the historian Robert Davis describes this as perhaps the most brutal form of slave labour ever devised. The slaves couldn't move in their chains, they were exposed to the sun and were described as having the flesh burnt off their backs. In the squalid conditions, the slaves were forced to relieve themselves where they sat, creating a horrifying stench on the ship and infesting it with rats, fleas and parasites. Unsurprisingly, the death rate for white Christian galley slaves was enormous, and their corpses were thrown overboard so as not to weigh down the ship. At the famous Battle of Lepanto, 12,000 Christian galley slaves were freed from Turkish hands by the Victorian Europeans. Despite these horrors, today the fate of white Christian galley slaves is little discussed or known.